Okay guys, so I have just gotten done harvesting my first batch of lettuce from my Aerogarden. It grew for about 3 weeks, and I actually made a video about how to prune lettuce from an Aerogarden. If you'd like to watch that, it's on my channel now. And so now that I've harvested my lettuce, I want to transplant my roots to a pot so I can free up my Aerogarden and plant more things in there. And so the lettuce that I planted, it's only been in there for 3 weeks, and it's grown at an exponential rate. I've heard that when you grow in an Aerogarden or grow hydroponically versus in the ground, it grows about 3 times faster than it would than if it were in the ground. So I'm just going to take my plants out, and the key to transplanting your plants from an Aerogarden into soil is to pull it out early. So this is only 3 weeks in. I feel like maybe I should have even done it a little bit sooner, that way the roots wouldn't have gotten so long. This is another look at what the root system looks like from the inside of the Aerogarden. And as you can see there, I probably should have filled it up with a little bit more water. You always want to keep the water levels up on your Aerogarden. So I've got 5 of them. And if you'll see on my Aerogarden, I don't know if you saw just a little while ago, there were actually 7 pods. 2 of them didn't sprout. And just an FYI, if you have a couple of pods that did not sprout, just cover them up so you don't lose moisture. So these are what my roots look like. And then here during this process of transplanting, you're going to want to move very quickly, because right now your plants are in a state of shock. And this is what I'm going to use to transplant my beautiful lettuce plants into. And this is a pot that I've previously used before, and I don't have a tray to it anymore, so I'm just using a bucket to put it in there. But I am a big proponent of just using what you have and trying not to spend more money, because I'm also all about saving money. And so what we're going to want to do now is to take the potting soil, and we need to just put a bottom layer in there. We want to try to create an environment that mimics what the plant would have grown in if it were growing up in soil. So the roots are long, but they're not so long that a little bit of dirt is a little bit of dirt at the bottom is beneficial. That way they're not just hanging there. They're not going to touch the bottom of the pot when I put them in there. So you got to put that soil all the way in there. And then I've got my guys here. Here are my lettuce plants. So this is where we're going to need to be really careful. We don't need to just take the little transplant out of the grow basket and just rip it out. We've got to be very gentle. I've heard someone say that when you rip a root, it's kind of like ripping the fingernails off of something, and that is the most awful thought in the world to me. So you've got to be really gentle and try to preserve the integrity of the roots so as not to put the plant in more shock, because again, they've only ever grown up in water. They've only ever been bathed in oxygen and water. They've just grown up in this perfect environment, and now they're out of water and they're going to have to go into soil. So you just want to treat them as gently as possible. So this is just an up close look at what I'm doing. What I can do with the grow basket is it's not connected at the very bottom, so I can just kind of pull on the sides to kind of loosen it up and then gently pull it out. And I will also be saving my plastic grow baskets so I can use them for another harvest. So this is just the standard potting mix, Miracle-Gro moisture control potting mix that I picked up at Walmart that I've used for a lot of my plants, and it's worked out nicely. The other thing you're going to want to do is to make sure that your soil is very, very moist. Because again, I said earlier, your plants are only used to ever growing up in water at this point, so they need a very moist environment to survive. Okay, I've got a little bit more dirt in there. So the next thing that I want to do, oh, and see here, I'm trying to show you the length of the root and how deep it can sit in the pot. You don't want to coil it up and just kind of smush it in there. You want it to kind of, again, mimic how it would have grown up as if it were growing up in the soil. And so you want to make sure that there's a lot of room, and then it kind of hangs down. It'll have lots of room to hang down. So now I'm going to get the rest of my plant guys and kind of lay them out and put them where I want them to make sure that when I'm putting in more soil and building it up, that they're evenly spaced. And so what you're going to want to do is just take a scoop of dirt, and then you're going to kind of pour the dirt around each of the plants. And you're going to want to just kind of build them up. Make it loose. You don't want to pack it down right away, because you can put a little bit of pressure on at the very end. And you're just going to put soil up and around them. And then if you see, I've kind of put the plants a little bit low in the pot, so that when I'm putting the soil around them, I can kind of almost pull it up. So I'm building up the soil and I'm surrounding them with soil, and then I can just pull them up gently so that the roots will hang more evenly, and they'll hang straighter, as opposed to just being coiled up in the pot. So now that they are all potted up nicely, I am going to water my plants again. And I just use regular tap water, and it's worked out fine for me. Some people use purified water to kind of mimic the type of water that you use in your Aerogarden or whatever hydroponic system that you have. And I'm going to water them twice. I want to make sure that they're nice and moistened, and just trying to create a moist environment so they're not so much in shock and they have a better chance of survival. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is we're going to make a little greenhouse for them. So I've got these two chopsticks. You're going to take out your aggression on these chopsticks and break them in half. I'm not very strong, so this is like the largest piece of wood that I could break in half. Okay, so you are going to, after you've broken your chopsticks, you are going, or I'm sorry, I keep calling them chopsticks. Those are actually skewers. You are going to take a couple of Ziploc bags, and I rolled them down at the bottom, and then I'm going to place them over my babies, my plant babies. You take them there, and I just rolled it up, and I'm going to put them over my plants. And what that's going to do is that's going to create just a little mini greenhouse for them. So it's going to lock in moisture, it's going to lock in some heat, and they're going to have a better chance of survival. And this is where the chopsticks, I said it again. This is where the skewers are going to come into play. I just use them to hold down the bags. That's all I do. So after you've gotten this all set up, this is still going to remain inside for me. I'm not going to take them outside. I'm just going to put them next to the light source that they're used to, just to try to create the same environment and try to slowly get them used to the soil. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, please like and subscribe.